Welcome students. Today our topic of discussion is report writing. Report writing for PU2 final examination plays a very important role, and it carries 5 marks, and you can choose another option of speech writing even for the same question, but what I have observed that most of my students, they prefer to opt for report writing. Okay, so let us begin with the report writing, right? So report writing is creating an account or creating a short, sharp account or document that describes in detail an event or an occurrence in an organized format, usually as the result of observation or inquiry on the basis of the datas. Two most popular form that normally we find in case of report writing, that is, one is news report, another is academic report. Okay, now to organize our thought, right, what we need to organize our thought, we need to go for a structure, proper structure, right? So the first thing we will have to discuss about the structure, right? You can see here the structure is important because to organize our thought well, right, and to make it easier for others to read and understand our thoughts, right? So what will be the basic structure? Basic structure means it will begin with a heading. Often what I have observed, my dear students, that often you forget to give a heading, right? It is important. So go for a heading, right? And heading, it needs to underline. You need to underline the heading because it will be most prominent and easier to read for the examiner, fine? And you may go for subheading. It is optional, you can opt it, you may not, right? And what else? So starting with the heading or a title, then followed by a subheading, you will have to go for introduction. There are several segments, right? Heading, subheading, introduction, then you can see procedure, then we will go for findings, followed by conclusion, right? And the end will be the recommendation. So first of all, we like to go for introduction. Introduction means it is to tell the reader what this specific report will cover. Okay, so with one example I like to begin with. See pie charts, right? Can you see? Yes. So this pie chart, the first one, 1970, just after independence, not exactly just after, but it is both the pie charts, that is in the span of more than 50 years, two pie charts. One is 1970, after independence. We can see the female, the ratio of the voters, right? That is the female 25%, senior citizen 20%, freshers 10%, and male 45%. Whereas the scenario got changed in 2019. We can see here that is female 35% and freshers 15%, male 45%, and senior 5%, right? So in this, the question is the following pie chart that represent the information about voters turnout in general election just after independent. It is the post-independent India in 1970 and 2019. So here, which points we need to cover? We need to cover with the points, that is the first point. In introduction we will cover the scope, second will be the purpose, third will be we should include the background information, and last will be specifically mention keyword. See the scope. The scope means here, what's the scope? Scope means to which extent, from where to where the information is provided on which topic or the subject, right? So here the subject is the polling, the voting, the system of voting and the electorates, right? Now the purpose means after a long research, after collecting so many datas, that means the datas, perhaps you can see that so many datas are being incorporated in both the pie charts. So this datas you will have to culture, right? So the purpose is to show that what is the difference, that is after post independence and then in the range of 50 or 60 years, right? Then we'll have to go for that is the background information, that if you know or if you understand this both the pie charts, you will have to write that just after independence, the senior citizens, perhaps they are more involved with the system of voting, right? They have once, or they had the high hope for the future India, right? And gradually we can see that the senior citizen in 2019, they are losing the interest, right? So they don't want to try, or they don't trust the judicial or the system of India anymore, perhaps, right? So then the specifically mentioned keywords here we can see, students, that is the entire report will be based on the freshers vote, the female, the senior and the male, how they are involved in the voting system, right? So the that means beginning from scope, we will have to mention under the column of introduction, we will have to mention, we will have to cover scope, purpose, then background information, that means your understanding, and then the keywords, right? So introduction shortened. Fine. Next we will go for the procedure, right? Procedure means the data, whatever is provided. So this procedure is a kind of, it's a sort of like the extension of the part of introduction. So it can be included in the introduction if you like to do so. Normally when you personally you are doing the research work, okay, how you will go about, so this needs the process of procedure. Procedure means it can be like a questionnaire. It covers what groups of people been targeted. That means the respondents, and then how many people you have surveyed, and then some sort of scientific, if it is some sort of scientific experiment, then what the topic you have chosen, what the data you have collected, and if we observe some incident happen in continuous in the real world, then the data needed to be collected. That is a procedure for sorting a pie chart or a table or a graph, right? Now next is how the data are gathered, that is called the procedure. Okay, next is the finding. That means as data gathered, already you will be provided with the gathered information, and you will be provided as a tool like pie chart, like a table, like a bar graph. Okay, so now your work will be after introduction findings. That means the data is gathered and placed in the organized way. We will have to go for findings. Findings means what exactly you have found out, what did respondents say, and what is your ultimate observation and findings from the graph or the chart or the table that you have included, you have prepared, or that is provided to you, which display information quickly and clearly, right? So the most important is what happened, when it has happened, how it has affected, and whom it has affected, right? So the cause, implications of the problem that you have encountered while gathering the data and while concluding to the findings. Okay, here finding completes. So the last portion we will be moving for conclusion. Very next we will have to move for conclusion, right? So conclusion should brief clearly the success or the failure of the successive events, right? Or the informations what we have collected from the datas. No new information should be added in the part of conclusion. Conclusion speaks, moderately about the results and the implications. So it means to summarize very briefly, the entire concept. And without forgetting, I should mention that it maintains a link between the part of finding and the recommendation, right? So what I have told you, I want to show you once you see introduction, procedure, finding, and conclusion and recommendation. So conclusion, this part comes in between or as a link between findings and the recommendation, right? Now we will move to the very last part, that is recommendation. Recommendation, it speaks about the solutions. Now the beginning was that the scope, that you have provided information, right? Then the procedure through the data collected or the research you have made. Then the findings means what is the cause and the impact. Then you have got to the conclusion. It gives a brief of the entire subjects of yours. Then it is a need of the report that you should recommend, right? So it speaks about the solution. So that is the logical next steps will be. Say if something went wrong with the previous datas, right, then how could it be fixed? How we can avoid probable problems, right, by taking a lesson from the previous incidents. Then what are the solutions you suggest? Then what we will look further into. Okay, and the main is how your report could be a supportive material to guide the further research, right? So these points should be included in the part of recommendation. So let us once again revise our report writing. The structure should be like this. It will begin with the heading followed by the subheading, which I haven't mentioned here, but the body should include introduction, procedure, finding, conclusion, recommendation, right? And that's all. Thank you.